Hello, everybody. My name's Teresa Shaver. I'm the Executive Director of the Business Advisory Centre Durham, and I'm really excited to have Raji Kalra from Peopletail with me today on this podcast and video episode so that we can find out more about the awesome companies that we have around in the GTA. If you don't mind, Raj, before you start speaking, I'll just briefly mention a little bit about your bio. So Raji is a retail marketing specialist who has spent 10 years providing services to brands and retailers. In 2008, his company built a cutting-edge in-store digital signage network for Whole Foods Market and ultimately went on to manage 30 other leading health and wellness retailers in Canada. In 2014, the natural product industry's leading media company, Alive Publishing Group, acquired a division of his company along with hiring him to run Alive Studios in Toronto. In 2017, Raji and his long-term friend and business colleague, Ming Tse, founded a new company called Peopletail, where he remains working today. Raji holds a BA from Laurentian University in Sudbury, Ontario, and a master's degree in business law from Bond University in Queensland, Australia. So Raji, welcome to our podcast episode today.
Perfect. Thank you, Teresa, for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. I first met Raji through email, actually, where he reached out to say, hey, can he be profiled on our podcast and video? And I thought, what a great idea for us to be able to profile some of the companies and the organizations. Raji, I think, is a resident of Pickering, Ontario, but of course his business is further beyond than that, right?
Correct, yes.
Tell us a little bit about Peopletail, if you don't mind. I think it's a new concept for a lot of people, and I think they'll find some real value out of hearing a little bit more about your business.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, Peopletail was spun out of an idea really built around this idea of content. Myself and my business partner, Ming, we've been in the retail space for 10 years. We've been producing content for brands and retailers. That started off with just producing websites, doing a lot of in-store digital content for like Whole Foods Market. And content's a big driver in terms of how people shop. People either look online or they're in store, they see something. And we started looking a lot around how people were consuming content and publishing content. And that really became on just user-generated content, videos and photos that people were sharing of how they were using products. It could be an ingredient they're turning into a recipe. It could be a beauty product that they're showing how they've experienced something. It could be fashion. And we said, there's a lot of wealth of content out there, and how do we bring that closer to the purchase decisions? And so we built out a product review system that allows people to publish visual product reviews using photos and videos. And we integrate those contents as close as possible to where people can be one click away from buying those from across 900 stores across Canada. And so we're still early stages, but we believe the future is really built around content and shopping experiences and people shopping through each other's, likes and dislikes around certain things, learning from people. And so we're really, really passionate about bringing content closer to retail.
Right. Good point. So this leads me into the question is what made you think about starting your own business? What inspired you to start Peopletail?
Actually, Peopletail is my third major venture. So I started off being an entrepreneur in 2004. Went through a little bit of an acqui-hire during the early phases. It was really hard to start a business back then, learning how to, set up a company, what kind of corporation, trying to do the accounting by yourself. And as things I've noticed has really started to become easier for all kinds of entrepreneurs. Starting a business has never been more fun and more easier than ever before. There's a lot of simple ways to start a business, and it's easier now. You can do it right from your kitchen table, have an idea and bring it to life really quickly. There's a lot more that goes into that, but in terms of starting a business, it's really about taking in an idea, building it, and the hard part is executing it. So actually building it, building a team. I don't believe any business can really be built by itself. You do need a good team around you, and people that believe in your vision, and also to get some validation. So Ming and I, my business partner and I, just started talking about that, and we spent about a year just looking at the market, and can we create a product that would be suitable for the space that we wanted to enter. But starting a business is very fulfilling, and it's less harder today than it's been ever before because all the tools are online and you can get up and running relatively quickly.
Very good point. So another question that just came to mind as you were talking, I know what inspired you to start your own business, but what made you think that there was a niche in the market or a gap that your product could solve?
I think just ourselves, we've been really focused on retail for the past, as you know, 10 years,
Yeah.
working with retailers, understanding their pain points, looking at, the way that we were, shopping ourselves. Like every time I looked at all the things that I was buying online, and, if it wasn't a spontaneous purchase, like I'm talking like every time I bought a TV, you run to YouTube and look at all the videos and unboxing videos and how people are talking about it. And then you go back to Best Buy to make the purchase, or my lawnmower, my car, my stove, my fridge, you name anything that really there wasn't a spontaneous immediate purchase. It's not like, buying ketchup is easy, but in terms of buying certain things, and the content experiences are getting better. Like everyone's walking around with these beautiful video devices in their pocket, and everyone's publishing content on something. And we said, you know what, there's, can we build a tool for ourselves that that we would enjoy using, that allows us to make a better shopper and more informed purchase decision faster? And do we think the trajectory of content is going to continue to rise? So we thought it was a really great idea, but we also took the time to talk to a lot of brands and retailers about the idea, to get
Right.
them to validate and say, is there a need for this? Do you suffer from people, and I think the common traits of a lot of these clients or brands or retailers is that they're all trying to build a better relationship with their customers and trying to help them reward them for helping them make sales for them. So if you bought something, from Walmart, and you had a great experience with it, and Walmart's it's a huge company, but they have the same problems as everyone else. They are trying to inspire, like Teresa says, you know what, help us share something you bought, share it with your community, tell people how great it was, and come back to walmart.ca to buy it. And figuring that step along the way, that they can even be involved to helping reward you, enable you, recognize you upon, the hundreds of thousands of customers that they have. How do we create those relationships? So we're really about the data and helping our clients build better relationships with customers like you,
Right.
every step of the way.
So that's my next question is like, how do you monetize Peopletail? Like, what's the business model?
So we're a free platform for consumers to publish visual reviews using photos and videos for anything they bought across 900 stores. We sell a service to our clients, brands and retailers. If they want a way to collect these reviews into dedicated pages, we call them channels.
Yeah.
And dedicated pages that they can host all the reviews into one single frame. They get to not only host them all. I forgot to mention, so part of our entrepreneurship, endeavors, that we decided to work with IBM. IBM, from our experience, was a really great technology partner for the retail landscape. And so they have an IBM Technology Accelerator program that we applied to, but we really were really gunning for them to really be part of them, because they have also provided us a lot of resources too from a technical standpoint. And so, as I was mentioning before, these channels that we sell to a retailer, it's not about just saying, hey, can we host your reviews for you? We use a lot of the IBM technology. It's called IBM Watson.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with it, yes.
Yeah, the AI technology. So as we start to build in all these reviews for a retailer, we give them insights to overall customer sentiments. What are people saying about them? Like, what are the keywords that they're using? So we use a thing called natural language processing.
Yeah.
It allows them to understand quickly, as they start to get, 1, 2, or 3, or 1,000 reviews into their system, how can they quickly, understand what are people talking about?
And what changes can they make to make the experience better, right?
I think just more about their product, like where the concerns are. They're always also, a lot of retailers are continuously investing into SEO and keywords and metadata in terms of like, what are people saying, but also just easily speaking, who are your power customers? Who are the ones that are publishing the best reviews for you? What kind of photos and videos are they using in their reviews? And so that they can say, hey, Teresa, we loved your review on this great new vacuum product that we have at Walmart. We love it. Can we build a better relationship? Can we give you new products earlier before everyone else that you get to try, because you know that you're going to be able to bring those to life. So it's really about building relationships better between retailers and their customers.
And not in the old form. I used to be in market research,
Right.
in my 20s, and we would have focus groups with Unilever and SC Johnson and all kinds of really large companies, but it was a long, expensive process to get to the point where the product came out, at the end.
Yeah.
Compared to this, it seems like customers being able to review and post that content, it really gives kind of like up to the minute changes. And as you said, sentiment, right?
Yeah. We're all about trying to make it fun for the consumer. Like, we don't want them to feel like they're part of market data. what's
Right.
really about what does a consumer really want is that, they want to feel valued, they want to feel recognized, they want to feel part of a community, they want to say, what, a brand cares about me as well. So there's a large baby care brand that we're embarking with, and they already have thousands of moms across Canada. And
Mm-hmm.
from a brand's perspective, they're just trying to get more of their products into this community, allow them to try these products, give feedback on these products, but also how they can use these contents to make sales back at like a Walmart or a Shoppers Drug Mart.
Right.
So we're trying to bridge that gap so that we could,
Right.
build relationships right across the way.
Now, would you work with independent retailers as well, and restaurants, or?
Yeah, we're agnostic in terms of the platform. So we are, when I say 900 plus, retailers, there's a lot of e-commerce retailers, but our we are working with independent e-commerce retailers. We do have a Shopify app that's going to be launched relatively soon too. So if you're, you know, Jennifer's jewelry store and you're just selling earrings, I think everyone's got that same challenge. They want to capture, like, how are people using the products, how they're showing them, how they're using them, so that when people are shopping on Jennifer's website for those earrings, that, I think Ming always says this best, and it's better, I probably just quote him, is that, we believe people will eventually move into a generation where people just don't want to see the product against a white background anymore. What they really want to see is how are people using these products to make their life better. And so that could be diapers, it could be earrings, it could be makeup product, it could be a vacuum. Like, it's like if someone says showing that here's the product, here's how I'm using it, here's how it's made my life better. That's a big part of the shopping experience, because people have a lot of choices out there today. And, and they have this, everyone from the big Walmarts to the independent sellers have the same challenges about how do they bring their products to life online in a very one-dimensional world when, it's just against a white background. So they need photos, they need videos, and either they try to do that themselves, or how do they get their customers to bring them to life and to be digital advocates for them.
Right. Very cool. Absolutely. Tell me, what do you think, because you said you've done a few iterations of being in business for yourself, and this is your newest startup, is what are some of the challenges you think that entrepreneurs face?
I think I think there's I think it's a pretty broad question, but I think, finding product market fit is the biggest thing right now. I think they should really get feedback from customers, like potential customers, either end users, hey, is this good?
Yeah.
Going to potential clients that may pay for such service, asking them honestly, is this a good service? And to get enough data. And once you've actually got and also finding a team, because I think a lot of people have great ideas, but also finding maybe a co-founder or other members of your team. And that could be there's a lot of important things, like, finding a great accountant that gets
Yeah.
you, finding a
Agreed.
lawyer that can help you maybe protect your idea, or creating some shareholder, structure for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of these things that I think people forget about, and that, they become afterthoughts later on in terms of, hey, let's launch and we'll do it on a handshake and move fast. I think so, starting, and a lot of these things become easier over time. Like, there's great products out there like Legal Shield, and there's a lot of great lawyers out there that are able to help you with the foundational elements. Even accounting, our company's signing on board with a new pay-as-you-go service that just helps you with the monthly bookkeeping for a low monthly fee. They plug into our system and allow us to focus on our business versus trying to do all this manual entry. And so they, reconcile all our transactions.
Who are they, may I ask? That sounds interesting.
We haven't officially signed on with them yet, but I think we're probably gonna be starting this week. Because now we're starting. This is the year that I think we're generating a lot of cash flow into the business. We're more R&D, but definitely check out. It's called .ezvo.
Okay.
I think they're based in Montreal, from what I've seen. And if you just take a look at their website, like, it's just, there's a few companies like this, but they seem to be for like $159 a month. You get to have this chance to, take care of unlimited transactions. They connect you with, they get you a QuickBooks license, and you're ready to go. And accounting is actually one of my pet peeves. If you ask me, or you ask my business partner, what do I hate the most? It's just the record keeping of accounting every single day. Like, all I know is that we got a business account, I got a business credit card, and every day something's coming off it, and I got to either categorize it and put it right. So, making sure that we're in compliance with CRA, and making sure that they get their money, and, people that are contractors or people that aren't payroll are getting paid. These things are very important for me, but there's things that I just, I have better use of my time, and making sure that we get a better, good team that can do it.
That's very true. I think a team is really important. I think once you realize that as a entrepreneur by yourself, that There's only you, and that cannot be scaled to some degree. I'm sure you can scale business processes and scale subcontractors and all of that. But if you truly want to grow the business, you need to invest in a team, right? Is exactly what you've just been saying.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard to to pay people on day one. Like if you said, I want to be the CEO and I want to run it and I'm gonna just pay everyone else there. Sometimes it's good to find a good co-founder or co-founders that believe in the vision, that believe in the end goal overall, and say like we will roll up our sleeves and get there together. And so these become equally vested shareholders that could just they're going to focus on the big picture together. And so that you don't have to feel like you got to pay everyone all the time in terms of finding the right team. But I do think it's hard to build a company by yourself.
Very true.
So, and find someone that complements your skills. Like I'm not a programmer or technical, representative at all. Ming is a University of, Waterloo engineer, smartest guy I've ever met when it comes from a technical standpoint.
Right.
So he helps really provides that balance where I can focus on the revenue line items, the customer relationships, the product market fit, and he helps build out, the technical framework that we need in the back end and make sure that we're making those right decisions because you need that. So we are in the tech space, but that could apply for any business.
Right.
Fashion business or you're in, a restaurant business. You need that complementary person that could be your head chef or your master stylist or whatever it may be to help you grow that business.
Right. I mean, I really love where the business, I love the name for a start, Peopletail, very clever, a mix between retail and people,
Yeah.
which retail, that is what it is about the people. And I also love like what you mentioned where you said that you are a tech business and you're using AI. And I think that's really important today. I mean, I don't know how many people know that they can just use IBM Watson if they have a business idea, that they can use the AI and the natural language processing. I heard about it a few years back and I sat through a presentation about it and I was just fascinated where we're going because we are, as a small businesses, we have all this data we're gathering, but we're doing nothing with it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of great technology infrastructure, like companies like Google and Facebook and IBM, and everyone's trying to provide these major the infrastructures for you. There's a great thing about being an entrepreneur today as well. There's lots of free workshops. IBM, like we were attending Venture Lab, which is part of the. They put on monthly workshops every month for lunch and learns. Come meet guest speakers. People are doing amazing stuff. But IBM is where, because they house it all in IBM in Markham. They put on free workshops every month. So we didn't just jump in. We said, what, let's go meet the team, understand how they work. Like, when is it right to apply for the IBM Tech Accelerator program? We don't want to be too early at just the idea stage. And they were really welcoming, really, really thoughtful in terms of our ideas and our ambitions.
Right.
And kind of groomed us and curated us along the way, that now that when we did apply, it became a no-brainer that we were at the right stage, we were at the right time. And I believe that I've been at a lot of events at, Do It Durham and Whitby, and I try to make it for the breakfast sessions as well. I think my favorite one was the one when you did with Staples, the gentleman that's leading head of Staples Digital. I was really excited because I'm a digital guy. Simon, and they were just literally putting on the lights that next day for Staples.ca. But that's a major undertaking. Like, there's so many moving parts that he's having to champion, and I'm just fascinated. So the good thing about being an entrepreneur, there's such a great wealth of events
and resources. Yeah.
YouTube is a wealth of information. AI one-on-one or natural language processing. There's lots of data out there, and there's so much content out there. So I would say, find a topic that's interests you. If you can't get out to an event, there's a bazillion videos online. Watch one video per day. Just start learning it. And I say this to every young entrepreneur as well. It's like, I didn't know anything about AI or natural language processing. You have to learn about it, and don't be caught into the shiny object syndrome where we need machine learning, we need big data, we need all these buzzwords. Just focus on, does it make sense for your business, and figure out what's the right thing for that. Like IBM's got Watson's got a lot of stuff we could do. But we just one small things. You know what? This makes sense today, and we're going to learn about it. And we spent a lot of time just learning how other companies were going to use it and figure it out. So there's a lot of great information online today.
I must agree. Honestly, my TV channel is YouTube. That's what I watch every day.
Absolutely. I watch startup talks.
Yes.
From starting up ideas to pitch competitions to, Jeff Bezos of the world, giving a talk. So I subscribe to a lot of these, and obviously it gets more personalized every time I log back into YouTube, but
Yes.
our job is to really stay connected and understand what's coming out there. And, it's an educational platform for me. I love it.
Yeah, I must agree. I do too. I also love what you mentioned, like you've come out and you go out and you go to events and you keep learning. I think sometimes we can forget about that piece of it. And I know you mentioned Venture Lab. We're all part of that same network, like myself, BACD, and Spark Center and Venture Lab. We're part of that network that the Ministry of Economic Development funds to help small business, right? And to help them kind of refine their business idea and their message, and just to kind of get lift and to get out there and create business for themselves. So I'm glad that you're using those services. Sometimes we don't do a good enough job of actually marketing that. When we started, we all have different names, different logos, but we're funded by the same partners, funny enough. And I think it just makes it difficult for people to find us where they are. But it seems like you were able to definitely look and find it. Question for you. What do you think is something that entrepreneurs forget to focus on when it's, something that's important for their business?
I mentioned earlier about the product market fit in terms of, is there a fit for this?
Yeah.
I also look at, put yourself in the real life shoes of the customer. Like, would you use this is the number one thing.
Yes.
I could get into and forgetfulness, there's a lot of things that we could forget as entrepreneurs, but I think, make sure that you have the right legal framework in place in terms of are you a sole proprietor, general partnership, is an incorporation? Some people don't know the differences between both. So if you don't know, YouTube
Come to us.
Exactly. Attend an event and just learn about what's right for me and at what stage. Do I need to get an HST number? These are the foundational standpoints, and it may take you one afternoon to figure this stuff out.
Right.
For you, find someone that you can trust from a legal perspective. That's a great lawyer. As I mentioned, Legal Shield.
Yes, I use them.
Yeah, a friend of mine named Sid, he's an independent agent for them. He just talked to me about this. So we use them for just general knowledge. I think, we also have lawyers that have done our patent applications or shareholder agreements and certain major components. But for like $50 a month, having lawyers on retainer for just general questions, especially around business. And actually they do more than that, but having this great, as a service legal option is great. So making sure that you have someone that you can talk to. And don't be scared. There's never any silly questions. And also, I think also try to find the competitive landscape. Are there other people doing what you do, and what's going to be the unique selling proposition of what do you do that's going to make yourself different? And I think the biggest thing you can do is put yourself out there. Is storytelling is never as important as more so important. Tell a story. Write an article. Just grab a phone, talk about what you're building out there. You never know who's listening on the other end. Use LinkedIn a lot in terms of just getting feedback and putting yourself out there. Because you know what? No one started off with 1 million views on day one. And, I don't sound cliche, like the Gary Vaynerchuk kind of stories, but, I started watching him a long time ago, and he was just doing Wine Library TV. And he is the true essence of a small business that, I don't know if everyone, Teresa, do you know who Gary Vee is?
Absolutely. I watch him. I've read his books. Well, I've read them on Audible, but I have read his books for sure.
Yeah, so it's just putting yourself out there. And so, you know what, and talk about something that's it's for a very specific niche audience that may be interested in that subject matter, and just share that content out there. And you know what, you'll build up that following. So you know what, he or she is really good into this, and they're really great and they're really passionate about it. And maybe those 1 or 2 customers can really connect with you. And that's it. I also want to add, one of the things I think also that's really like the trend right now as well is we're running towards a lot of, people are ever so looking for convenience on everything.
Mm-hmm.
It builds something that can save people's time. And I look at this like, everything's becoming as a service as much as sounding cliche, but, getting a car, getting groceries, not even getting groceries, but getting, groceries portioned into small meal-sized kits. If you don't want to do that, then you order skip the dishes and Uber Eats. Who would have thought, I go out to eat with my wife, and we sit down, and how many bags of people are coming in with skip the dishes and Uber Eats. And we're living in an as a service world now, right? Everything from Netflix to your music to everything's becoming a utility. So think about the time that you're going to save by helping your end customer. Is if they're already used to doing something already a certain way, and your product's not going to save them time to do something, they're not going to take it. because you have to really make them has to be such a dramatic shift of what are you doing that's going to help me save more time. And I think that's the common thing that everyone thinks about is that make it easier for people. It's the biggest thing I could say.
Yeah, very good point. I know you mentioned the product market fit, right, earlier. And I would say that that's one of the biggest challenges our clients have. Even when we meet with them, maybe even 6 months down the road, is they haven't defined who that target market is, and they haven't defined what the problems are that they're solving for businesses or for consumers, or they haven't defined that, or I've been able to figure that out. And I will say that even I made that mistake when in one of the businesses I was in, is that I didn't do any market research. I did friends and family research, and great, but it's only a really small part of the market that in number one is biased towards you.
Right.
So definitely go and speak to people that you don't know that might be interested in your product. And I'm sure you went through that. You did a lot of validation to figure out if there was something there.
Yeah, I think you have to not only, go through that exercise, as I said before, like go talk to potential customers. They're not sure, like that's not a great validation of just the product market fit. Like, one or two people might say they like it, but build it. Once you get enough feedback, build them into like personas, we call them. Personas are, they become your ideal customer. What are their pain points? What do they do? What websites do they peruse a lot? Are they LinkedIn users? Where do they go? Where go find them, so that when you start to build your persona, so we have two personas. We have users that want to use the Peopletail
Yes.
publishing reviews, and then we've got people that want to pay us money, that actually say, hey, we love your product reviews engine or your platform, and we want to get a channel. Who are those people out there? And so we had to build two sets of personas, and looked at building out their likes and dislikes, where they spend time with that stuff. And so we continuously look at that. But I think it does, again, building a persona is not hard. I think you have to really be focused, and then focus all of your energy to getting to those people. And
we go through that customer persona exercise here, actually, and I love doing it. We have a great template for it, and it's very powerful, and I think scary for some people, because they realize actually how little they know about their customers.
Yeah.
And how hard some of them are to reach, because they're not that easy to reach. Not everybody is. So for sure. I have a question for you is, what key activities do you recommend entrepreneurs invest their time in? And I know you mentioned going to events, learning on YouTube. I don't know if you had anything else that you think as an entrepreneur that people should know.
Good question. I think, I think even the events so much are like, when I started in the entrepreneur stuff, I'm talking like 2004, like I still remember standing outside cold Toronto nights. There used to be an event series, like they used to use the clubs during the nightclubs.
Yeah.
The weekdays when they weren't being used, and they used to hold these kind of startup sessions. And like, there wasn't many of them. So everyone was like, you get there and like, it's like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. Like, it used to be cool to be an entrepreneur. Now everyone's an entrepreneur, right? And there's these events any day of the week. There's probably like 10 events going on every single day across the GTA, across every subject matter. Shopify, Amazon, restaurant tours, you name it. There's everything out there. So getting out to events is easy. They can also suck up a lot of time. And I think that, so pick and choose the events that you go to wisely. Try to invest into events where you can meet like-minded people, and it's not just you're going to go listen there and listen to one person talk, because a lot of, so I, as an aside altogether, like for a hobby, I started this like a meetup community called the Toronto Entrepreneurs Meetup Community. We have 20,000 entrepreneurs in our community, and our whole premise is not really about boring our users. We really try to create events where people get to network one-on-one. It's more about them meeting other people.
Yes.
On what things that they're challenged with. So they leave with always knowing 2 or 3 more people that they didn't know that are stuck on the same problem. And so that they have some actions they can take afterwards. So I know I'm not answering the question properly, but in terms of, things that they could do better, I think just YouTube is my number one resource today, to be honest with you. Podcasts are really great.
Yeah.
Shopify's got a really great, master, podcast as well. It's called Shopify Masters Podcast, which is all kinds of businesses, like literally people that started with nothing that have accelerated into $1 million or $2 million from an idea to execution of what they did. And they really ask a lot of vulnerable questions. There's also a founder podcast, FON, like founder without the E, I think.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal as well. But there's a lot of learning out there. And I think it's really about taking patience. and learning. The tools have never been easier, honestly. Like the tools, like starting a business today is like, it's easy. Incorporating, getting up and running. You could be up and running that same day with,
Yeah.
getting a logo designed. We use Upwork a lot too. Upwork is
Yeah, I use it too. It's a freelance platform pretty much.
freelance platform. And so, so because we're a technology company, but trying to find, on a startup budget sometimes too, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's like, sometimes you just can't afford. Developers are in high demand right now. So everyone, there's a huge, their salaries are very high, to get them to work for you
Yeah.
yourself. But there's Upwork's a great freelance platform. So we dissect our jobs and say, you know what, let's not give, let's give a website to one person. A
Yeah.
website's actually broken down into, is it like, what's the front end going to look like? And then what's the back end? Like you can dissect a job into micro stages. And so, you know what, hey, this one person's going to do this really well. This person's going to make this work, and this person's going to make this work. Instead of putting all your eggs into one basket. Like I've met a lot of entrepreneurs where they said, I got burned by my website, girl or guy, or they got busy. I gave them the money and they didn't finish my job for me. And it's like, wow, so, being able, it's a project management tool. It's
Yes.
hold your money in escrow, and, the money, I've never been burned once in the whole time that we've ever used it. And as soon as someone's done the job, then you release the funds. So we're very big power Upwork users for things that we can't do ourselves.
Right.
And, everything from copywriting to logo design to, front and back end development, you name it. I think we've used them for pretty much everything. And I think
For everything.
almost every country around the world.
And that is what you have to do when you start out, because all of us would like nothing better than to hire a whole bunch of people from a local environment. And when you have the budget, that's something that you do. But sometimes it's just not possible. And I know I see that for a lot of our clients. They have to use subcontractors, or they have to use, any of these platforms. And I say, go to it. You learn a lot from it as well. One of the questions I also wanted to ask you, and which we haven't talked about, is, if any entrepreneurs are looking into retailing a product either through wholesale or e-commerce solutions, what do you think they should consider?
So getting into retail's, our bet is that we think, e-commerce will continue to rise. And I think direct to consumer is a big part of the future. Like I think there's a podcast, I think his name's Craig Patterson. He's a retail prophet or retail. He works in the retail space here in Canada. I found him on LinkedIn. We've connected, but he just put a stat out this morning that, not only Victoria's Secret starting to shut down stores now. Pierre, like he listed, like even just the beginning of this year, like 10 retailers are starting to suffer. And the brick and mortar stuff is becoming a lot more harder for retail because the rent is high and it's hard for people to survive. And a lot of retailers are pushing into the e-commerce platform. So I think focus on luckily we've got Shopify here in Canada.
Yeah.
They offer a wealth of knowledge in terms of, of helping to sell your product, anything, whether it's a digital product or a physical product. Finding fulfillment centers. So if you don't want to pick, pack stuff up from your house and you don't ship from your garage, there's great fulfillment centers that you can ship your products to. And they'll just do every time you get an order, they'll just put it in a box and ship it out for you. Canada Post has got a lot of great resources out there as well. And Amazon is still, the #1 e-commerce channel for everyone as well. So if you want to sell on Amazon, there's a lot of great courses out there that you can, there's a lot of free tools to learn about. But selling on Amazon is a definite opportunity.
Yes.
And there's a lot of software out there too. Like if you want to take a look at Jungle Scout, I forget the other name. But there's software out there that will help you even identify, the category for your product. If there's other products similar in nature, what are they even selling right now? How many units are they selling? What kind of forecasts are they doing? And you can even work backwards even. Like, I bet them some power people in Jungle Scout they only bring in products now because they actually see, there's certain categories that have huge demand, and they actually find and source products that is, there's a demand for this product. We're going to go buy some and bring them in. So they're looking at things like sites like Alibaba. Alibaba.com is where you get connected to wholesalers around the world, predominantly in China. But, if you want to order 500, like minimum order quantities and have goods shipped to you for low cost. My dad, when I was growing up, every year, my dad would go to China every single year because that was the way he was in the import-export business. He used to bring in goods to Toronto, T-shirts and hats and hoodies and all that other fun stuff, and have to do his buying every year. So you'd fly there every year, go meet the suppliers, go there, negotiate everything, and then bring them in for the whole year. That happened for like 30 years in a row. And
Very cool.
I look at now today as like, I could just go online and find a supplier for t-shirts or hoodies online and, feel secure with my transaction that I can have them shipped over from there and sell them across all these great online platforms. And they're getting more and more. Like there's not just Amazon, there's, I can get into there's eBay and there's Newegg and Best Buy, and Walmart has now opened up a marketplace opportunity as well, that if you want to sell in Walmart, you can sell in Walmart. Like there's endless supply of marketplace retailers. So selling online has never become easier. It's never become more fun. It's become an easy opportunity to do it. And it it's not hard to learn on it through online, or find someone that's in it and, to buy them a coffee and ask them to teach you a little bit about it, but it's fun.
You mentioned Newegg?
Newegg.
How's that spelled?
Newegg.
Oh, okay, Newegg. Like that. Awesome. That sounds cool.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
I think there's just so many opportunities right now, honestly. I mean, I wake up with them every day with ideas of what we can do next, because we can just market ourselves. You mentioned that you can easily just go online and choose products from somewhere you trust. Now, where would that be from? Like, do you think that Alibaba is one of those places that you can trust what you're getting?
I think there's a lot of reputation tools that are built into these sites now. So there's a lot of ratings and reviews, and like we're in the reviews business ourselves, so we really put a lot of focus on that. But like trip it, like ratings are, so if Alibaba is becoming a destination where you feel like, hey, I want to take that plunge, I want to sell something on Amazon, I want to order 500 units. There are these sellers have reputation on their past experiences from other people that they've dealt with. They try to provide a lot of communication tools too, so you can message them, talk to them, before you buy. You can also sometimes order a sample in advance.
Yeah.
You can actually see what it's going to look like before. Don't order 500 without seeing the quality coming in. So just do a little bit of process. And there's actually guidelines around that. But their job is, like the reputation of Alibaba is that they're trying to open themselves up to the world. And the only way they can do that is if they really put those tools in the powers of, customers across the world. That's, I'm able to order, just like my dad used to go into China and do that physically, I need to be able to do the same business process online.
Yes.
Yeah.
So talking about your dad, it sounds like he was one of your inspirations.
Yeah.
Any other people that have been a great inspiration for you as you've gone through your career?
I think in the early days, I got into retail. I didn't know much. Again, I'm talking like 2004.
Yeah.
I started off early, and it was around 2006. I joined a Markham-based company. It started off by husband and wife, Peter Balzer and Ursula Balzer, started Artisan Complete. I didn't know much about them. I got invited to speak at a conference in Chicago. We were doing some innovative stuff with digital technology, and I was speaking in front of 300 people in Chicago at a conference. And I remember right after my panel had finished, in the lounge afterwards, 3 guys approached me and they said, "Hey, we're from Artisan. We work in Markham. We're Canadian. Love to talk to you." And I didn't know much about, but they were really big into the retail space. And I came up from Chicago to Toronto, and I met with Artisan team, and I learned a lot. Like there was something about the pedigree, their experience, their knowledge in terms of quality. And I learned a lot from their founder. He taught me a lot about scaling himself. He said, Raj, he taught me this one thing, and my dad was maybe a little bit opposite to this, and that my dad was, my dad's a very, hands-on, wants to be part of every phone call, every meeting and stuff. And Peter Balzer also taught me, he goes, Raj, because whenever I'd see him, he'd just be walking around and high-fiving and telling jokes and making everyone feel good. And he goes, he knows he's doing a great job. He says, if he comes here and he has nothing to do, he's doing it right. And he built a phenomenal 200-person team.
Wow.
In Markham, where, he really taught me about scaling, that you can't be part of everything. You have to hire the right people to do the right things for you, and that you have to have trust and build a culture. And so that was my really first experience of someone that was completely opposite to my dad. And I hold them both on a pedestal equally. Right. But he taught me a lot about scaling. They actually hired a really smart individual to run the division that I was in, named Mike Brown. And Mike Brown was actually a client of mine. Then he came on to lead, and he became he's head of one of the big agencies in Toronto now, Bounteous, I believe it's called. But Mike gave me almost like I call it like a virtual MBA. He used to talk to me about everything, about, you know, how to build a great relationship, how to build the right contracts. He taught me a lot about the value chain, that, you know, you're only good as to as climb as high up the chain as you can be, because you don't want to be accounted to someone to get to that client. So he always taught me, like, be up the value chain as high as possible.
Right.
So you always have that close line. If they have to every client they off, like, you don't want to be further down the chain. And so he just taught me a lot about certain things. But those are two, Peter Balzer, Mike Brown. You know, I can, you know, don't want to sound, you know, obviously, you know, the stereotypical names like Steve Jobs, but I like Steve Jobs only because I believe he was an entrepreneur that had a great vision and idea. He came back after being kicked down. And, you know, I think every entrepreneur, you have to be a little bit on 10 years. I don't say I haven't been kicked a couple times. You have to be able to get back up, focus on what did you do wrong, you know, not make the same mistake twice. And try to keep, you know, try to come back with more persistence, innovation afterwards too. So his persistence, like, he could have just given up and said, you know, hey, I made a lot of money, I'm not going to come back and do anything. He was very, very passionate about what he was building, and things came full circle at the end of the day. And that's why I really liked what he did.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't necessarily always a nice person to work for, but he was steadfast in the vision of what he wanted to achieve, right?
Absolutely.
And he believed in it, and no one could talk him out of it.
Absolutely. So yeah, it wasn't because of his products and everything. I think it's just his steadfastness and his persistence and his foresight. Like, you know, there's some things you can't buy, and
Yeah.
you know, he had a foresight of where things were going to go, and made some tough decisions along the way.
Very true.
He really challenged his team. So I like that.
I never used to think that much of Bill Gates. I used to think he's a very smart man and all that sort of stuff. But I watched his documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you did, and what a man, right? What a smart man. And I think Steve Jobs was just so much like Bill Gates in that way. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I think I watched the first two parts, but I'm very fascinated about himself. Like, Bill Gates is just a machine.
Oh,
You know, like, you know, how much he could read and consume content. Like
I know.
the book, he's just
my mind.
And you know, he's definitely got a programming acumen to him in terms of the way he thinks and analyzes things.
Yeah.
But you know, I think certain entrepreneurs just have to be really good at, you know, you can't be great at everything. For every Bill Gates, there's a business partner that can really help. There's Stephen Woz, you know, like, there's a lot of that stuff out there. So find someone that can complement you. You can't be great at every single thing. And so
that's kind of saying, like, stay in your lane, right?
Yeah, I think find what you're good at
and stick to it. I have one last question for you. Is, like, really, do you read, by the way?
Do I read?
I think you read, right?
Yeah, I read. I consume a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. What's been your favorite book so far? And this doesn't have to just be business related.
I think I'm a big fan of the Seth Godin series. I got onto him early. His ideas. I've actually met him twice at the Archangel Summit that comes to Toronto, and
I went to that last year myself. Yeah,
I was there with him. And the first year he came, and actually, the first year I had a VIP ticket and got there, and he had walked right into the lunchroom and just started talking to him. You know, his ideas around marketing. If you look at any of his early videos from, like, the TED Talks he did, like 2006-ish, around that time, like, they're still so relevant today. And, you know, I find that he breaks things down, and from, you know, we take a lot of these, you know, marketing equations, and we think there's a lot of complexity around that. He just breaks it down really simple. So everything about, you know, the purple cow to permission marketing to, you know, linchpin, you go on and on. I'm just a fan of his process and the way he thinks. And I love the way that, you know, so his books really just are like stories for me. They're not even really real. They're like a fantasy novel that I get to read.
Have you heard about the MBA that he runs?
The alt MBA. Yeah, I have heard it. I'm not part of it.
One of my clients went through it, and she found it to be life-changing for sure. So absolutely is trying to build those products, right? And those services, and trying to build stuff that people actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. I use, you know, a shameless plug for, he's he's just a colleague, but
Yeah.
there's a gentleman named Steve Cunningham. He's part of the Toronto entrepreneur community. I got to know him, and he's famous for being a lawyer for about a week. And I met him, and he I think he was from Burlington. Now he's moved to San Antonio, but he used to read a book a day, and he used to summarize part of his legal process. He used to summarize them into like the Coles notes of everything about them. And he started a company called Read It For Me. And Read It For Me, he basically still reads a book a day. He summarizes them into audio and video format. And he's got a huge library that people actually pay him a monthly subscription to get, like, all these books condensed into 10 minutes. And it's an audio or video format. And it's great. So I actually enjoy, listening and consuming his books that are condensed into these 10-minute sequences of all the most important things you need to know.
This is how I like to learn. I like to learn at 1.5x on YouTube. And I think that's what those books are. You condense it and take it in and learn what you need to learn and move on to the next one.
I should have probably spoke about, working from home. There's no shame in working from home these days. Like building any great companies, starting from your kitchen table where I'm sitting right now. Like this is where everything's made. There's no shame in that. Working from your basement, there's no shame in this. Like, you don't, my friends can laugh at me sometimes about, they all work on Bay Street or work on the certain lines. Yeah. Working from home, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And when we go to IBM's, they've given us free office space at the IBM building, and we barely use it because we enjoy spending most of our time, because most of the stuff's online anyways. And when we then we meet. But starting from that Starbucks or starting from that place, like there's no shame in that. And I see a lot of great entrepreneurs working at Starbucks with a laptop open, and that's the foundational part. Like don't ever be ashamed where you're starting from. Everything starts with just being connected online on a laptop, and you're good to go. You're in business.
I agree. I think I'll definitely make sure that this piece is part of the interview, because there is no shame. One of the things I've had a thought to do actually is interview those entrepreneurs that are sitting at Starbucks, because I thought I'd love to just know what they're all working on, and they're sitting there with their, eyes into the laptop, earphones on, and I just love to know why they're there. You think that'd be a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's working on something, and I think even for any of the Toronto entrepreneur events that I've been part of, I'm fascinated by the cross section of everyone that's coming out. I think I've met guys at RBC that I call it the side hustle generation.
Yeah.
Everyone is working on something. Everyone is racing towards financial freedom. Everyone has an idea, literally an idea of something that they want to do. Even my wife. We always find these things, hey, what if, could have, should have, we have these ideas of, and I think it's always easier, everyone wants to see that come to fruition somehow. But I think the common denominator is always, they're racing towards financial freedom. They want to be entrepreneurs. They don't want to drive to work every day. Nothing wrong with that. But I think, getting up in the morning, fighting that 401 traffic or that subway line to get downtown, we're living in this constant rat race all the time. There's always this rat race happening, and time is something that we can't buy. And I think it's always, there's nothing wrong working for other people. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's something much more liberating that if you could take an idea and anything and
build it into something that
I'm into something. And so everyone's racing towards that. And I think that's never going to stop.
Raj, it's been really great having you here on our podcast. I love that people have been able to learn a little bit about you, your entrepreneurial journey, and what's to come with Peopletail. So thank you so much for your time today.
Perfect. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you.